walking. I don't do that much talking these days. These days.
For a couple of weeks when it comes in obliquely like this and casts shadows on the walls, down the corridor, on the door. And if you look at the floor, you'll see the patina of literally thousands, including all of us, of student steps making their way to one class or another. This one strikes me, it's just a very timeless image. And this is done with a large format camera. I discovered it actually a while ago before the discovery of the 3000 negatives. It's always been one that evokes many, many memories. And I went back to Sam Phil just thinking maybe I'll rephotograph it. And it was kind of a real bummer because it's been, I mean, Andover does things great, but it was kind of done, perfectly. And there was no trace of, the student steps or the patina on the floor and whatnot. And even the walls didn't have this beautiful silvery color of, generations of paint over it. Here we have the 4 wonderful Abbott girls, to use a very old term, followed by some serious faculty members coming up to join Andover classes. Obviously, in the era of co-education, that was a very big deal for the PA contingent. This is also one of my favorites. This is Tom Cohn, who I recall was a wonderful biology teacher, and he used to do these races of the various animals that were in that pond in Evans Hall. In this case, it's a turtle race. He would do it for all of us, for faculty, children, and anybody who kind of cared to be around. I reconnected with Tom a couple of years ago. I sent him a copy of the book, which we had a very nice email exchange. It was just wonderful, actually, after so many years. Here we have part of the Abbott Fair, and I just think you look at everybody's faces, just unbelievable sort of energy, enthusiasm, you'd say innocence. We all know how complicated each of our lives were back then. But that just captured a moment. And there were, we all recognize a bunch of the people in this photo. And maybe even some of you were there. But, we had these kind of times. And Abbott was doing some really great things as the schools became closer there, 72, 73, and then of course, later on in the years that all of you were there. Yet another from that, again, somehow capturing the moment of just hanging out, very much of the 70s. And here, again, a memory I think many of us have had out, by the armillary sphere on a very nice spring day, clearly procrastinating from doing any work, which I know I was very guilty of. And then this is Chapin House, and the wonderful, I guess, mistress or head or dorm head of Chapin House is on the right. I can't recall her name, but I remember her very fondly, and lots of different characters here. There were great fun that would go on between the various Andover groups and Andover dorms and different Abbott houses. Here, an illustrious member of the class of 75, Captain Chapman, at the letter boxes or pigeonholes or whatever they're called, where all of us awaited letters.
Hey.
Yeah, there she is. Sorry, I figured this didn't hit the threshold of embarrassing. I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh, it's fine. I just look a little goth, I mean, heavens. And all my doodling and hovering over the mail because I was dying for some mail. Yeah.
But just
it's a great one. It captures a moment. It does.
It does. And actually, I don't know if you can see it on your screens, but there are these water markings, which some of the negatives, got moist over the years. And actually it added a sort of interesting and authentic bit of time and time travel. So I left them, and there are a number of them as we go forward. I left them in most of these. So we all remember waiting, for all sorts of letters and whatnot, and congregated here. Here we have a clearly dubious group of 73ers, and various sort of, well, I guess you might say inflammatory things in their hands. And those are probably tobacco, but generally speaking, it was other stuff too. And this was typical of all of us, just finding a moment, finding a place, and kind of a little bit of FU to the establishment and administration, which we all took great pleasure of. Here we have a very boyish Jason Fish. Somehow I always thought this was my favorite tree. It was the great elm outside of Day Hall. I looked at it out of my window for 2 years and coming out. It's one of the oldest elms in New England, and by lore, I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds good, so I'll say it. By lore, George Washington addressed the students under this tree, which I think is pretty cool. And even if it's not true, it sounds great. So let's keep it going. Here we have a very serious resident of Day North, Dean Nordenson. And as you'll see, there are no computers, no mobile phones, no devices of any kind, just tons of books and a pipe, which I think, I sent this to Guy and he said, okay, you can use it. So, but it's not embarrassing. Maybe it is a little bit. Here, we have a picture of these impromptu hockey games that used to appear outside of Day Hall and various other places. Again, very typical of the experience. I myself didn't even know what ice hockey was when I came to Andover, and participated in some of these things. They were great fun. Occasionally there were face-offs, shall we say. Mike Bejan and Margaret Hillhouse. I think they had a big rivalry and who knows what else. But somehow it sort of was a very nice interaction. Here is one of those moments. This is Blair Richardson from my class. We all sort of felt this way, forlorn, skinny. We put this dust down on the floor because the idea was, something, we are just we are nothing. We are sort of low people on the totem pole. This was in maybe sophomore year or something. And the guy's coming with his toothbrush and the soap and sort of, exit to the fire escape and whatnot. When his mom turned 90, I did a picture of this for her, and she was just blown away. It was a big surprise. But I think we've all been in this situation. The sort of Alex Stilla, you may know, a sort of a very smart guy always, and I don't know if he's on or not, but again, this sort of captures this sort of, we're Andover people. We kind of we know it all. Your typical unmade bed, a pair of very unpleasant shoes, a typewriter, the moments we all had trying to pull together term papers and everything else. Couple of, well, I certainly had my share of all-nighters, which resulted in not good outcomes, put it that way. I don't think I learned my lesson until I was, in my 30s, that better to do things in advance than leave them to the last minute. Now, for those of you who were in Day Hall, this is the great Dr. Monet. I've always sort of called this solitary supper. He was again, we all had special people in our Andover memories. You can see in his glasses, the tablecloth is reflected, and he would have his meal, glass of wine, invite people up to watch, because again, that was the only TV in those days. Sports events, or, if there was a very particularly important or interesting documentary or film, he'd have everybody up. He had a cat called Pie that used to run around the dorm and run outside. And again, this is a specific person, but we all had house masters and mistresses that meant a lot to us and that helped us through some of those challenging times. A couple of teachers that were memorable: Jack Richards, of course, here in European history. I sort of, he was a great teacher, and yet somebody had their feet right up here in the lower left. kind of taking a fairly casual attitude to the class. But he just kind of was whatever, here's what we're just trying to teach you guys. And then here we had a class in calculus or algebra. And this is Bill Beschenstein again from '73. And for those of you who knew Besch, he was not exactly a mathematical wizard. So this was a time when I think it was Mr. Penner busted not doing the work. And he was like, again, we've all been through this. He was called up to the board to sort of demonstrate, how to do a particular problem. And as you can see, the person on the lower right here has got the hand on the elbow. It's like, okay, come on, no bullshit. And I think the one here in the lower left is probably kind of skeptical, and Besch himself is like, get me out of here. So again, memorable experiences we've all had. Here, by the way, in the days of cameras, if you want to do a picture involving yourself, you had to go set the camera, set the timer, push the button, hurry back. So there was no such thing as selfies that are so amazing these days. And here we have somebody who will go unnamed is holding a pot plant. Somebody else, Jason, is holding the blue book. And then, everybody's kind of, adopting a little bit of kind of whatever in your face type mode to various faculty people who are no doubt around. Again, the kind of thing you saw at the Abbott days, totally committed, incredibly intense, two-legged races. If you look at the looks on the people over here in the middle, it's like, again, what is going on? And these are the kind of moments that, as I was going through the images, I thought, these connect with me, but they connect with everybody. And that's the idea here, again, is to share with you things that are not specific to my experience or anybody's experience, but really general. And I sent the book to Stan Schumann and Ed Olson, who are class of '52. They were looking at it, and they just were, again, they sent emails back, we are transported. I recognize this. So I was very heartened by that. This is a room, very typical, maybe a little over the top, but typical of what was going on with all of our rooms, back in those days. Psychedelic, hard rock, crazy stuff, everything else. Obviously, a certain order in the chaos here. I'm sure many of you on this call had, were a very sort of neat room, neat desk. My friends and I were not, so we plead guilty, and here's the evidence. Now, many people had.
Hey, Tony, put yourself on mute if you're typing.
Okay, can everybody hear me? So the next two are a before and after of an experience we all went through. We had the before of one of the day hall residents, Mike Bejan, sort of proudly display. Actually, one, this may be after, and the other one may be before. I'm not really sure. And then we have the after. So we have the before and the after. Again, universal experience for all of us, and now for our kids. Here we have, I'm not sure exactly who these fantastic ladies are, but this is the butt room in one of the Abbott dorms. And as you can see, sort of full on smoking, and giving us a little bit of entertainment with the facial expressions too. A exuberant moment in one of the dining halls, and just kind of captures friendship, joy, some funny stories going on. I'm not sure about the food. It doesn't look like it's particularly well eaten, but it was, typical of many of the meals we all had. And then on to some specific moments, some broken window in Day Hall, very kind of evocative, looking out on Paul Revere. There were those moments I think we all felt maybe a little broken, maybe a little challenged. Why are we here? What's happening in life? And when I saw this photo, it was like, yeah, I've been there. And I'm sure we all have. I'm sure every one of you has in one form or another. But the fact is, here we are. We all get through these moments. And then a kind of a joyous moment, just to contrast to that. This is the reflection. You can't really tell, but it's the bell tower. It's the solid object in the going from the right center down. several dimensions here, you know, the sun on the water, the leaves in the water, and beautiful shapes and, you know, kind of good feelings as opposed to the other one. Going back to the 70s, this was a protest downtown in Andover, anti-war protest. And I just love that middle finger with somebody else photographing it and the cop right there. And again, you know, those times were crazy, as tumultuous as a time of transition, time of change. Really, I think, you know, every time is intense, full of change. But as I thought about the book and what I wrote in the introductory essay, it's like, you know, something, those early 70s remind me of today, the last year or so. And so this kind of captured it. Other moments, 3 people dying in the heat on the steps of Day Hall. You know, you can see the person on the left, Brewster Lee, looks like he's about to expire. The guy in the middle taking a more sensible approach. And as usual, the one on the right, Dean Nordson, very reflective. But, you know, again, you remember those days when it somehow burst into spring, the dorms were hot, had to get out of there. This is it. And then the winter, freezing, you know, beautiful poetry and the snow on the trees and the shadows. But you remember those, this is obviously a blue New England day, but you remember those dark New England days. It seemed to kind of go dark from, you know, when we left for Thanksgiving to when we got back and continued into February. But there was occasional beauty in the, you know, the blue New England skies and the snow on the branches. Here's a moment. This is Commons. Again, one of those like moments you see and you sort of start thinking. Distortion in the windows, the steering wheel in this old car, and just walking by it, you know, what was the reality? What was in my head anyway, looking at this and taking the picture, you know, who knows? A fairly dismal day, which many of you recall, slushy snow, freezing, mist, looking down the great lawn towards the chapel. Then a couple of pictures of people. I don't know who this guy is. Maybe he's on the call. But when we looked at this in my team, it was like, you know, this could be, there's a hip area in London. It's called Shoreditch, East London. This guy could be walking around East London today and like be like, wow, that's one hip dude, you know? And I saw this and it's like, wow, this is timeless. And if anybody knows who this is, or if you want to, please let me know, because I love the picture.
So Tony, was that you that said cigar?
Yeah, Sagar Prakash, isn't it? Isn't he a sophomore there? I mean, a lower?
No,
Sagar Parikh.
not Sagar.
Oh, Parikh, that's
No,
right.
I don't think it's him.
That's not him. He's a good friend of mine.
Okay.
Who is it, John?
No.
Anyway, you know, I'm glad it wasn't just me who could remember people. Then we had, here is a moment of graduation of 73. We have the individual here in the sort of left center. It's a little nervous, actually. Maybe he's worried that the diploma is going to be a blank sheet of paper. And then a little more confident people there is we had back. Another wonderful portrait in the butt room. Again, I don't know who this is, but I love it. And somehow captured that moment. Everybody, as we know, back in those days, had amazing hairstyles. This is one of my friends and Day Hall residents, Dave Benitez, who had, without question, one of the best hairstyles on campus. He was, I don't know if, actually Mike Beejan was his roommate for a year or so. And then we have an illustrious member of the class of 74. I won't say the name, but I don't think that's oregano in the drawer. But we'll give people the benefit of the doubt. I better quickly move on from that. A great fun day on Abbott. I think that's Sarah Bailden, who was a huge high energy person. And then a resident of Day Hall showing off a very impressive waistline. And then again, these are the moments we all had, in the dorms in one form or another. Chris Haney from my class, who, and you see the water sort of markings here, give a nice element to the photograph. Chris, after graduation, rode that bike from Andover to Washington and kind of showed up at friends' parents' houses. Hi, I'm here. Can I stay for a few days, including my parents? And he was a great guy, but it was sort of a little bit of a surprise. But that's what people did in those days. There were none of these, text messaging, WhatsApp, email. It was kind of either so-called snail mail or knocking on the door. Typical faculty members back then. This is the wonderful dorm mistress of Chapin Hall. I don't know who it is on the left, but I like the look. I think it was one of the art teachers.
No, he's one of the math teachers.
Yeah, he was, I think it was Hardin.
It's Andrew Strauss.
Strauss.
Fantastic.
Well,
Yeah, he was my math teacher, Mr. Strauss. And instead of learning math, we went out and campaigned for McGovern. As I recall.
This image kind of caught it all again, very 70s. Thank you for the identification, Kathy. That is very cool. Now,
Connie had it.
this was one of the fantastic receptionists in the head of school's office. For my sins, I was on pro, and this was taken actually as I went in for an audience, being given my fate. Ironically, many years later, my daughters got on pro, and so it was in their junior year. I'm sorry, their upper year.
Yeah, but if you were only on pro one time, that's not so bad.
Well, that's true. I think I did all right, but they now have a 2 strikes and you're out rule. So you get on pro and then you get even, I think, restriction, you're out. And so this was a very sympathetic a lady who helped to sort of soothe the pain a bit when I was with my daughters and sort of telling, listen, it's not the end of the world. They were in tears, et cetera. I said, look, I have something you need to know. Okay. I was on pro too. And we had an all pro team and we were a very proud all pro team. And we kind of carry it forward as a badge of honor. So don't worry about it. They didn't believe that, but they thankfully made it through to graduation. But again, this is one of those moments where even though I was clearly, in the wrong for having been busted by David Cobb, by the way, who so I see that as, kind of ultimately he got his reward for busting me. But she was very nice and just sort of made me feel a little better. Now, this was one of the moments we'd run into faculty children. This was Dave Penner's daughter. And she used to be outside the dorm and just captured this moment. And decades later, when she got married, I'd sent this picture to him when I discovered it. This one I found a while ago. And they used this on their wedding invite, which again is one of those timeless connections that happen, with a place like Andover, with the experiences we've all been lucky to have and the people we've all been so lucky to meet and stay in touch with. Everybody here. Bullfinch Hall, snowy day. I'll just run through a couple of timeless moments. I think maybe we remember those. There were these afternoon teas here with Mrs. Stott, I think it was, kind of trudging up there in the snow with a beautiful shadow into that great house. Another image of it. And then here, I did a series of circular images with an 8x10 view camera. They gave a whole nother element to the feeling of the image. There were portraits, there were a lot of pictures of trees, which I always found beautiful and sculptural. And this is, of course, the library looking out to the great lawn, and this is the great elm. That tree was just so huge, you could never capture it and do it justice. But I tried here with this circular format. Now, occasionally we'd venture down to Andover to take pictures, and I encountered these guys. I was taking a picture of them, and you can see they weren't too happy. But as in looking at this, and with apologies to anybody on the call, but it struck me that these could have been Trump supporters this year. somewhere, somebody taking a picture and they're saying, something, we're going to stop and beat the crap out of you. Thankfully they didn't, but they might have, because I took that and took off. But there's something great about that guy, and then the look over there, and there's in the middle, there's the nose of their passenger, which again, it's a very, very special and funny moment. Lots of these around in the early 70s. This sign, which was in Andover, I don't know what these holes are. They almost look like bullet holes, but kind of says it all. We all had these moments. The empty chapel, and of course we were there when it was full. I used to sneak in there and just try to get a photograph that captured the timelessness of it. This was as close as I got, but for me, it sort of did it. And I was back there many times, including with the kids, and I'm sure many of you on this Zoom are parents, so you'll know what I mean. When they show up, parents come, and there's a whole sort of coming together of that group of new students, whether they're juniors or whoever else is starting that year. And then at the end, there's a sort of farewell in the same building, in the same pews. This is the church in North Andover, which was a wonderful New England Congregational church. I love these churches around New England, and photographed them. I get in my old Vega, which, by the way, I parked next to the library, next to Day Hall, for the last 2 terms of, that wasn't why I got on pro, by the way, but it was just there. Nobody ever asked the question. And, like most things, if you just sort of, act like it's okay, it worked out. Today, of course, that's inconceivable. When I told the kids that we had fireplaces, we could, if we were a little sort of risky, we could park a car for a while. We had a dorm cat, that sort of stuff is inconceivable these days. And then I'll just quickly go through a couple of, these are trees from the Andover campus. This is on the Abbott, actually down on the Abbott campus behind the Abbott Quad. This one, a number of these I discovered earlier, and these were part of my first book. When I discovered some of my archive in 2010, this was a book at an exhibition called Looking Back. And the idea was, and there's some portraits, but these are just the trees. It was a very interesting benchmark. I'd made a big change in life, and it was a very opportune time, like the pandemic, to reflect on, kind of what you were back then, where you are, how it, is consistent with dreams and expectations and all those kinds of things, which I'm sure many of you have thought about in this past year. This is an apple tree just down behind some of the sports fields where the Andover football stadium is. This is another tree on the Abbott campus, taken in late evening light. It used to come from the west very beautifully in late spring. Just, and I remember sitting out on these lawns with various people, and the light, that late spring New England light, is so evocative and brings back, so many of my nicer memories of Andover, that I thought a couple of these ones of trees would maybe help, bring back some memories for all of you. And then finally, another circular image of the chapel, here taken on a cloudy day. There's something on one level kind of intimidating about it, but also serene and peaceful and beautiful. I'll stop here. I mean, I don't want to bore too many of you, but I hope I've given you a sense of the journey, et cetera. Let me just read you the last paragraph from the book, which says, "I hope you'll enjoy this journey and whatever reflections and memories our Andover days evoke. Perhaps they will encourage you to reach out to friends you haven't seen or spoken to for years or even decades. But whatever the results of looking at these photographs may be, I hope your mind wanders, as mine has, to peoples, places, and experiences that were long, long ago, yet in many ways remain very close, very near the surface, and very much part of who we are." So that's it for my presentation. Please.
Oh, fabulous.
That's terrific. Really terrific.
Thanks, everybody. And, for me, I hope I can convey a little bit of the emotions that went into all this. I had the virus right at the beginning of the year of March of 19. Nobody knew what was going on. I'd say it was a medium to serious case. I was thankfully not in the hospital, but I came out of that. And, when you have these experiences, I'm sure many of you have or have friends or relatives who have, it really kind of gets you thinking about those times, those people, the experiences in life that really matter. And for me, pulling this together was something that probably wouldn't have happened before the pandemic. And I'm not sure I would have, I wanted to for the 50th, but, like in my case anyway, many great ideas never happened. So here it is. I'm delighted to answer any questions or offline by email or, anything anybody might be interested in. So thanks a lot for listening. And I wish I could see everybody on the call, but, big hug.
Hey, Scott, I can't turn screen sharing off. Can you turn yours off?
I can.
Then you'll be able to see at least more people. We had a really good turnout, over 30.
Oh my goodness, isn't that fabulous?
Yeah. And just a note to everybody, several people, and Scott, several people reached out to me to have this recorded, which it's weird. I set up automatic recording in my Zoom account, but I don't think it started. And I turned it on at about, I don't know, I think you'd been showing pictures for maybe 5 minutes. So at least most of it will be on for sure. Whether it automatically recorded or not, I don't know. But one of the things that we've done in Jonathan Meath's calls is get a picture of everybody.
I'm going to try to do that right now. If
Yeah.
everybody wants to look gorgeous and smile. I've got 2 pages. Just hold on for a sec. Almost done. Smile again. Thank you.
A great idea.
So we can open this up into more like a cocktail party type thing. I'll sort of start out. I was struck by the bell tower pictures because I actually won the Fuller Music Prize for my senior year, which gave me the only key to the bell tower. And I got a check for $350 actually. And what I had to do was learn how to play the carillon and then play it once a week for an hour, which I did on Friday afternoons. And let's just say that having a key to the bell tower was a pretty easy way to get dates.
I think that key got copied.
Yeah, I don't think that was the only key because I remember a certain highly planned multi-month event. So yeah.
The carillon, the bells are still up there, but the carillon is not. When they rebuilt the bell tower, they decided not to put an elevator in, so that it now has I don't know, it's like an automatic carillon that plays. I think that's kind of a bummer, but it's still beautiful, that's for sure.
It's never up in the top of the bell tower, but certainly in the cupola of Graham House.
That would
Remind us where Graham House was.
It was actually, I think, where the psychologist was or something. It's over behind Cochrane, in that little street behind Cochrane, the one that's just 1 block long.
Yep, it's where our alumni crew are today, Jenny Savino and all her team.
Okay.
It was the headquarters for the Northwest Cluster at that time. It may have had 1 or 2 faculty offices in it as well.
I don't know why the smoke didn't bother them.
Hey, how many people have rappelled off the bell tower?
Yes, indeed.
No, nice job. My goodness.
Well done. That's great.
Do they still do that?
Not anymore.
I doubt it.
No, they when they redid the bell tower, I talked to George Ireland about this, our classmate, who was on the board of PA at the time, and apparently when they redid it, they could no longer tolerate kids going over the ropes, all the rest of it. Basically, I think they turned the railings from wood into plastic, and just couldn't take the stress.
Why did they get rid of the hand-operated carillon?
Because there was no way to get access to it due to ADA requirements.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't really get up those stairs in a wheelchair, Phil. I don't, as I recall them.
I will say I absolutely loved playing that instrument. It was a real thrill to be able to play those bells. I played a
I
lot of
remember
music.
trying to practice on the practice carillon in Graves Hall, getting very frustrated.
Yeah.
Is there still search and rescue? Do you know? Because wasn't the rappelling part of search and rescue?
Yeah.
Yep.
So do they still do that? Do you know?
Probably not. You have kids.
No, yes, they still do. Absolutely, they still do. Or at least they did 10 years ago when my son was there. Absolutely.
It has a
Yeah.
different name, I think, now.
Yeah, it's called Outdoor Pursuits or something like that.
That sounds
But
right.
yeah. No, wait, and Scott, since you are not going to promote your own stuff aside from what you've done, I'm going to do so for you. This is an excellent book. I recommend it. Scott, and what are you working on now in terms of your next photographic book project?
Thanks, Jack. Jack and I did not have a side deal on this, but appreciate it. No, above the clouds, just on that for a second, the idea there, these were all flights taken from commercial plane flights over many years. And the idea really was the philosophy of staying above the clouds in life. So leave all the negativity below you and gazing over the endless horizon, that's full of possibility. And so it was, the whole sort of philosophical underpinning to that was central to the idea. And the next book, which is actually just being published right now and is on Amazon, is called Equivalence. And Equivalence puts together two photographs that have nothing to do with each other in subject, time, composition, color necessarily, but together create something that's way beyond the individual parts. And the idea is that in life, we can meet people, have a special conversation, become friends, walk into a museum or a cafe, come to a city where there's no reason why there'd be a connection, but there is. So it's really a celebration of the human experience and the unexpected in the human experience. So you turn the page, and the photographs really work together. Some will connect more with others in the same way that I could walk into a museum and somebody else could, and they could have a reaction different from mine, but we could both connect in positive ways. So again, it was kind of a little bit, inspired by the experience coming out of the pandemic. We started with 7,000 photographs, curated them down to about 300 pairs, and there'll be 60 or so pairs in the book. So that's the next one. It was meant to be published this fall, but COVID delayed it. It's actually out in the next month or two. And there's a couple other things going on that, we've got a publishing schedule, of a book every year or so, usually around a life experience type thing, sort of a life journey type concept. So that's the
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
So speaking of life journey experiences, one of my Andover friends, who's actually class of 77, is at base camp Mount Everest right now, waiting for a summit window. Yeah.
Good luck.
There's a COVID epidemic there.
Yeah, there's COVID in the base camp. I read about that.
He's talked about that in his blogs, and basically every group is essentially isolated. His team is 5 people, 2 guides and 3 climbers, and they don't come in contact with anybody else. But his name is Tom French, and fingers crossed he is able to summit.
Frenchy.
I remember him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him too.
Yeah.
Was he older brother to Peter?
I don't think so. Do you remember Tom?
No,
Was he was he local? Was he an Andover guy?
Yeah, his father owned that outdoor store in downtown Andover, something in Moore.
Moore and Mountain, I remember that
Mountain,
store.
good memory, Phil. Well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Wow.
I only remember this because in Tom's blog from Everest, he showed a picture of himself with the banner from his dad's store, which he plans to show if he's able to summit. So believe me,
That's great.
this was not from memory.
I think I still have a water bottle or something from there.
Yeah. By the way, I will mention this to everyone, and Tony Nahas might be a little embarrassed, but the class of 75 has recently announced a class trip to Paris at the end of September, and we've begun to kind of sharpen our pencils for a specific itinerary. Kathy Chapman will attest that Tony is famous for hosting 4-hour lunches. That'll be part of this trip, but I'm going to kind of, even
I
though
had
we're sort
one
of,
too with Tony several years ago.
yeah. Although we've promoted initially as a 75 trip, I think given the interest in Scott's trip, I will at least include the folks that are on this Zoom call. So we're not completely herding cats in Paris. We're going to limit the group size to 16. So it'll be on a first come, first served basis. I've already got a couple folks that have signed up, and it's going to be a great trip to see Paris and Tony, especially now that things are opening up there.
Do you have dates already lined up?
Yeah.
Right, you need to do a field trip to London to see Scott.
There we go.
Let's say
Do a little tunnel
a
action.
train trip.
I
We'll
would
set that one up, Scott.
look. We are there. I would love that, and it
They
is
might,
unbelievably easy to get over here by train. It's a lot easier than Boston to New York.
So
Yep.
Robert, you'll get an email with the itinerary. Day 1 in Paris is September 30. We're planning 2.5 days in Paris, 2 full days in the Loire Valley, and then depart on the day after that.
Include Porter Scott.
Yeah, no, Porter's still there.
Yeah, he's in the Loire Valley.
is he really?
Yep.
What's he doing
Yeah,
there?
he's been posting some amazing
Oh,
pictures
look
on
for him on
Facebook.
Facebook.
Almost every day.
He,
Oh, wow. Okay, I will. Yeah, we're not
He's
we're not
renovating
friends on
some
that.
old medieval house, and
he's like
just-
Mr. Eclectic, do everything, rebuild the house. I guess was he a real estate guy or something? I don't know. It just he's got great posts.
Fantastic. I'll look it up. Thanks.
Yeah, the name's simple.
Hey, Scott, a few people.
In September. I haven't been there. Nancy and I still have a place there, and Tony, as you know, and I haven't been back March of last year because of COVID. Can't wait to get.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you, Bob.
Hey, Scott, a few folks have asked about availability of the book that you just shared.
Yeah, well, it's a limited edition to 200 copies. I have kept a bunch in reserve, and I'd be delighted to share them with anybody on this call who would like one. Either just email me directly, or I'm on Instagram and everything else, or I'm sure our illustrious chair here.
Scott, what's your email?
It's scott@escottmead.com.
Does the Addison Gallery have a copy?
The Addison Gallery and a couple parts of Andover have copies. They do. And they also have a number of these, well, actually some other photographs in their permanent collection. There is, in fact, a sort of permanent collection that's on display at the Andover Inn that, they've over the years had different alums who are artists display their work there. And so anybody who happens to be up there, take a look. It's got a lot of it's more from the Looking Back series, which are circular ones, and then a number of full format, including the one of Sam Phil, The Hallway, and some other ones that I think you might find interesting. The whole Looking Back portfolio is on my website, which is Scott Mead Fine Art Photography. if anybody wants to look more at it. But I'd love to send the book to anybody on this call who's interested. And I might even sign it too. So who knows?
Thank you.
I know your book is on the coffee table in the lobby at the end over it. That's where I've looked
There you
at.
go.
Ah, good.
Wait, is Andover in open? I thought it closed.
No, not yet. Getting closer though.
Anyway, Scott, as representing many of the photographers on this call, I have zillions of negatives, and I just am stressed about what to do about them. I'm not retired. I'm still working. I don't have time to like sit there and scan things and whatever. Do you have any like advice? I mean, I got great pictures, but you know, I just can't keep these forever.
No, I know, and I think Kurt's got 3,000 or more.
Yeah, he's got a billion too.
I'm sure lots of people on the call do. I mean,
The whole viewpoint in those days was to shoot as many pictures as, you know, zillion, and then edit and pick the one that's the good one. But that means you have reams of negatives, which have interesting other the target pictures that might actually be interesting as well.
no, and the thing about negatives, you know, I found these negatives were basically, with a few exceptions, perfectly preserved after 40
But
over.
we developed them so well, right? We were so careful.
Oh, yeah.
And like if you take a memory stick from a camera today, 40 years from now, you know, it won't be able to be read. You know what I mean? So these have an incredible physical timelessness to them. And so I think everybody, you know, we kind of owe it to the negatives. And I would just say, you know, I know it sounds easy, but just have a set a date and do it. I would recommend getting a light box. They're like super easy on Amazon or something. Put them on there, get a loop. That's one of those things you can look more closely. And you will very quickly.
The loop from Andover.
Yeah, you'll very quickly be able to figure out the ones that are worth, and you can actually, there's commercial services. I use some, and also we just finally bought some scanners and just did it ourselves. But it's, you know, we found some, this was over here, we found some commercial services that would scan to a fairly high resolution. You send them, you get them back, and you can kind of look at them and see which ones you want. And then the ones you would shortlist, you get them scanned to a higher res, which then can give you a book or something. So it's kind of daunting, but it's definitely worth it. And the thing about these things, that for me, they were, these negatives and photographs were sitting in these boxes in the attic. I was dragging them around, and they were kind of like this, you know, super ego presence saying, you got to do this. You know, you're being delinquent. This is your past. You know, what are you running from? That sort of thing. So I finally just, you know, kind of did it. I knew they were there, but, you know, so, but there's, you can just send them to commercial services, Kathy, and they will do a first cut that'll give you what you need.
I'm thinking about it, Scott.
Please do.
You know, it's daunting though. I think I have, you know, 3,000 and another 1,000 slides. So I'm getting ready for that moment, you know. So I'm glad you did the moment. Your pictures are really wonderful. The trees and the large format, you know, particularly outstanding.
So Kurt, do
got a box
yours,
full.
and we'll feature you in a Zoom call.
Yeah, let's give a date for Kurt to get those going. And Kathy,
That's what I need. I need a deadline. I think you nailed it.
Well, everyone has a different perspective. I mean,
Okay, so if I get a free trip to Paris, Phil, I'll tell you what.
Hey, Kurt, I'm coming to see you next week to get you started. So next Thursday.
Okay, and then I got to reserve something in Bob Truehold's Paris digs, and okay, well, I must say, Scott, just really impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're kind of
Fabulous, Scott.
at the witching hour. Let's
I have a quick question for Scott. How did you light, if you remember, the photograph of Dr. Manet having his solitary dinner? Do you remember how you lit his face like that?
well, that was a 4x5 large format with a long shutter speed. And so in that, you know, you sort of overexpose a little bit to get all the detail, but we did have just basic table lamps, which were positioned, because, none of us had studio lighting at that point. So table lamps and, we weren't, you couldn't do like, 50 on your iPhone and then see which one was good. It was like one or two. I'd say there was a little bit of luck involved, probably more luck than planning, but even in the darkroom back then in post-production, you could sort of account for, some areas of, overexposure, underexposure or whatever, but it did work out, and it captured him in a really wonderful way. He was a great person for those of you who were in Day Hall and elsewhere. So the answer was it was not, nothing particularly scientific, I'm afraid.
No, but I love that, the sense that you took all these photos with whatever was at hand, kind of recalls the authenticity of those times, and also a sense that that was a long time ago, even though we all remember it. Looking at the pictures of the snow scenes, we didn't have fleece then. We looked different. And so the pictures carry an amazing nostalgia, but also I think because they're so well crafted with whatever you had at hand.
We did have big down coats, remember?
We did have those puffy down coats, that's right.
Remember Don Snyder complaining, all you students, you're just walking around looking at the ground in front of you because you're so cold. Pick up your head, look around. He was pretty funny.
All right, well, let's thank Phil again. He's our class president for helping to keep us on beat, setting deadlines, executing.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you,
and
Phil.
making sure that Scott could present before his fourth glass of wine. I thought that was good.
I know, I say, what are you drinking there, honey?
I'm about to go and listen, it was Phil and Kurt, thank you for organizing this, and Kathy too. And just great, really great to know and to see everybody here. And I sure hope I can, be a next time kind of passive participant in any of these calls. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, you're
You need to look at the chat, because a lot of the identifiers of certain people were putting in the chat like, oh, that's Mrs. Bugby. Mrs. Bugby was my teacher.
Yes.
And Mr. Strauss, the math teacher, and all that stuff. I don't know if you can look at the chat, but
yeah, I just have. I've been like too nervous, with the presentation, so I thought with a chat, or I'd push the wrong button and do something.
I don't know if you can say that or anything, but they're humorous.
No, I would definitely. Fantastic.
Yeah. So anyways, I'll end the Zoom in a second. I think what we've learned is that having a themed event is really popular, as well as having something across the 3 different classes. This was really wonderful. We had good attendance from 73, 74, and 75. So
we were all friends together. I mean, it wasn't like it's nice to have.
I'll get I'll put together an email database of everybody who joined this call, and send you a link to however I figure out how to post this video up on YouTube. Maybe I'll set up a Andover class of 70s YouTube channel, and we can put stuff up on there.
That'd be great.
I know he's going to call tech support. That would be me. I know that's going to happen. Don't get too crazy.
I'm really successful when Kurt puts a capital K on his name.
Black channel all set up for you.
So anyways, have a good night, everybody. I'm going to end the call, and we'll see you.
Scott, fabulous job.
Absolutely. Great to see everyone.
Great to see you, and thanks everybody for